I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I got Chip the Prophet Hayner right next to me. Smoking Jim would be in that seat, but we got Zach Brenner. Smoking Jim missed the show last night because he went into the tunnel with 4 tires, come out with 3. He still has 3. So he can't make it out to the show. So we usually talk sports. We got a little distracted with our co-host not making it. And I want to thank everybody in Bethel Park for watching us on Verizon 32 and Comcast 7. Only Comcast 7 in Bethel Park. Verizon, as you know, you can see us everywhere, from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford, City of Pittsburgh, and throughout the area. So thanks for watching. We hit a brand new high on the likes. On the Facebook likes, we hit 4,699. Jim Audet, we're knocking at the door for 4,700. So we appreciate all the likes. Thank you very much. And you know our rule. You like us first, and I'll take a look at your page. If it's good stuff, I'll like it. So thank you for following up with that. I appreciate it. We always start our first segment off with what's on your mind, and we're going to do that right now. Zach Brenner, we always kick it off with you, so what's on your mind?
Well, I'll lead off for the second consecutive night in a row on this historic night. I just wanted to start off by saying, people ask me, do you really think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame? Really? Well, I'm going to tell you. Hold on 1 second, Oliver. Hold on 1 second. Don't die on me. Stay with me. Do I really think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame? And I thought long and hard about it while I was at work all day today. And my conclusion is no. I do not believe Pete Rose should truly be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason why Pete Rose shouldn't truly be in the Hall of Fame is the same reason why I am going to go and switch over to football real quick and talk about why I'm not too pleased with the New England Patriots. Not only have you been caught videotaping practices and game plans that helped you win, you also got caught changing the inflation of the football, which gave you a pivotal advantage for however many years. And you, rather than just take the, for the crown that you got caught, you couldn't do the time. And now Tom Brady wants to appeal this, to the higher court. His suspension has been upheld today by Roger Goodell of 4 games. He wants to appeal this ruling. My thing is, why appeal the ruling? You guys have been cheating for the better part of a decade. Take the 4-game suspension and move on with it, be done with it. But like I said, to end, a reason why I don't think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, because like Chip keeps hammering home and Levine keeps hammering home, there's a giant placard in every Major League Baseball, locker room that says, the rules of the game, and one of the prime rules of the game is that you cannot gamble on the game of baseball. So what is there to deter anybody else in the game if you allow Pete Rose to do that? So that's what's on my mind tonight, folks. Pete Rose should not be in the Hall of Fame. Not because, he's legitimately the all-time hits leader, because he broke the cardinal rule of baseball, and that is you cannot gamble on baseball.
I'm glad, Zach, that you have seen the light, but that was very well stated.
You feel all right now, Levine?
You know what? I had that piece choked up. Hold on a second.
While we wait for the
No, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
He had enough time.
I'm ready.
Anybody that sees the light like that, I wish there were more light over here. I don't know, it's sort of subdued here, but it is just fantastic because last night he was just trying to blow me up, and he did. He did the same thing. So that little choking episode, normally I don't drink on air. I got to.
Little Gatorade.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Zach. Glad you're with us, because you can love baseball and you can love football. It's a known fact. You'll learn that. It's tough.
I love all sports,
But I'm saying in Pittsburgh,
Even
I only think there's 2 seasons right now.
As long as the playing field is even, I think all sports are great devices.
Even soccer. Chip the Prophet Hayner, what's on your mind?
Well, thank you, Alan. And just the only thing I want to touch on with this whole Brady suspension being upheld is Tom Brady has now entered the elite company of such notable Hall of Shame people such as Lance Armstrong, Alex Rodriguez, and of course the illustrious Pete Rose himself. World-class liars, and
There should be a Hall of Fame for that.
Yeah, well, there will be. There will be. But if you want to know what's on my mind this evening, you would think with the trade deadline coming up in baseball that there'd be something to be said about that. But more importantly, today there were some trades made with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jim Rutherford actually has been doing his homework and is starting to reshape the Penguins for the 2015-2016 season. He traded a very good third-line center, Brandon Sutter. He picked up another center, a defenseman, and a second-round draft pick next year from the Vancouver Canucks. And they also signed a center from the Washington Capitals who's been injured. He was a free agent. His name's Fier. And the three people that he picked up will be making $3.9 million this year against the salary cap. And Brendan Sutter himself would have been $3.3 million against the cap. So the Penguins are starting to clear up cap room to get more players on their rosters. And what they did was they've strengthened their third and fourth lines. And if anybody that paid any attention to hockey this year, they saw that, you know what?
We needed it.
The Chicago Blackhawks have won Stanley Cups because of the strength of their third and fourth lines. You know, you can always shut down the top two scoring lines, but strengthening your third and fourth line is going to be helpful. And that leads the Penguins in a place now where I believe there are still moves that need to be made. And if you look at the Penguins roster, look at the salaries and where they can create room for younger players, there's three players that I think could very well be getting moved sometime in the near future. One of them would be Rob Scuderi and his high salary. Another likely target would be Chris Kunitz. Another veteran at a very high salary that underperformed last year. And believe it or not, Pasqual Dupley. Now, if everybody feels for Pasqual Dupley, what he's gone through the last 2 years with his blood clots, and everybody's really pulling for him to do well. But if you think about the logic of keeping him on the team and the salary that he commands, for a third or fourth liner, I think that's out of line. And there is no guarantee that Pasqual Dupley will even be able to play this year. I know he's been cleared by the doctors. He hasn't played in 2 years, and who knows what he's going to bring to the table once he does come back. But I think Jim Rutherford deserves a big gold star on his forehead for what he's done today and the work he still has yet to do, because he's not sitting pat. He's looking to change the structure of this team so that they have a chance to contend for a Stanley Cup next year. That's what's on my mind.
Hey, and that was a great one, Chip.
Jim.
Appreciate it.
Smoking Jim just texted me that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. And Tom Brady will play Week 1. Those are his own words.
He just texted me and Smoking Jim 412-831-3304. We miss you, buddy. But these texts with that text-only phone, use your landline. Call in, then I won't know what that number is, but go ahead. We gladly talk to you, especially about, you can't fire me up now because now we got 3. Now he's trying to text me. Hey, I got to do what's on my mind.
What is on your mind, Levine?
Can you say injunction? I just did. What are you reading, a dictionary, Smoking Jim? Hey, what was on my mind just left. That pizza was delicious there after Zach Brenner talked about Pete Rose shouldn't be in. Let's see, what was on my mind before I got here? Well, I did talk about the Passion yesterday and what's on our mind, so I'm not going to do that again. They're definitely champs. We'll have them on our show. Appreciate what they did, 22 in a row, repeat, so I at least had to get that out. And then here's what I like right now, being a sports fan like I am. We have Buccos and we got Steelers, and there's interest in both. This reminds me, for all you young puppies back in the 70s, when we had that interest after the Steelers started winning. It did take a while, so I do understand that. But I'm interested more from the training camp. And I don't know if you guys heard this little blurb. I heard somebody get interviewed, and they said one of the key things that we'll have is if Cortez Allen reverts back to his form from a couple years ago, the defense will be better. Here's what I say. If it depends on Cortez Allen improving, we're in trouble.
We'll speak to that as we get in later to the segments, because there's a lot of question marks
Well, we know on the defense.
On the defensive
But
side.
isn't that an interest? That's what was on my mind when I
Kevin
come
Coleman
in.
said that.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, what does your draft mean the last so many years if he's that important? But that's what's on my mind, and we're going to move forward. Smoking Jim Frazier, you're the NFL scout. Give us a call, 412-831-3304. And if you're with Sweeties for Jimmy, tell one of them to call in.
I was going to say, that phone of his doesn't call out, does it?
It did today because he said, I'm not going to be there, talking machine. So that's what's going on there. Chip, we're going to go right to trivia time. I know you've been on vacation. I'm sure you might have a couple extra things.
Got a couple things, and I could eat up some time, but there is plenty to talk about tonight. I mean, Steelers started in training camp. The Pirates are coming up on the trade deadline after taking 3 or 4 from the Nationals. But my trivia, something that date that was missed, July 17th, 1941, which in my mind, I feel 1941 is one of the greatest seasons in Major League Baseball history. That also happens to be the day that Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak came to an end. And I still say, I've said this before, and I will continue to say it, I believe that's one record that will never be broken, especially in the age of specialization with Major League pitchers. Back then, you'd bat against a pitcher, you'd see him 4 or 5 times in a game, and the chances of you getting a hit up from him after your 4th or 5th at bat were pretty good. Now we've got a guy that pitches the 6th inning, a guy that pitches the 7th inning, the 8th inning. So literally you can see 4 or 5 different pitchers in a game. So they had a 56-game hitting streak. Now the interesting thing about the 1941 baseball season is also that Ted Williams was the last ball player to bat 400 for a season. And the thing I find interesting about that is Ted Williams did not win the MVP that year. The MVP award went to Joe DiMaggio. So, what do you really have to do to win an MVP award? If batting 400 doesn't do it,
be a Yankee.
I don't know what it is.
Be a Yankee is what I say.
I guess that was the curse of Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Boston got it back again.
And they did.
Sticking with the baseball trivia, 2 days ago, starting pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, Tim Hudson, accomplished something that only 14 other players have accomplished as major league pitchers. Tim Hudson became the 15th pitcher to beat all 30 Major League Baseball teams. That attests to his longevity. July the 23rd, 1962, Jackie Robinson became the first African American in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Something that should not be overlooked. Now, I know my friend Jim and sometimes Zach have always said that they felt that pitchers shouldn't bat in baseball, that they take away from the game. Well, anybody that ever watched Warren Spahn play would have to beg to differ. Warren Spahn was a pitcher for the Milwaukee Braves back in the late 50s and the 60s, but on July 26, 1962, he hit his 31st home run of his career. Pitchers do belong in the batter's box. Getting back to some more unusual baseball trivia. If any of us, I know Alan remembers, this was before my friend Zach's birth, but 1971 was a year that we never will forget. That was the year that the Pirates won the World Series. They beat the Baltimore Orioles. Mm-hmm. And the Baltimore Orioles had at that time, without question, the best third baseman in baseball, and his name was Brooks Robinson. Yeah. Well, Brooks Robinson proved that he was human. On July 28th, 1971, 16-time Gold Glove winner Brooks Robinson committed 3 errors in a game, and fortunately, because of Frank Robinson's prowess in hitting the ball out of the park, they didn't lose the game. Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson, no relation. 1983, American League President Lee MacPhail ruled that George Brett's pine tar home run against the New York Yankees on July 24th should count, which forced them to have to play that game to a finish later on in the season. That is a very famous incident in baseball history. George Brett completely went bananas, lost his mind. I thought he was going to kill the ump. Ken Griffey Jr. tied a Major League record on July 28th, 1993. he hit a home run in his 8th consecutive game. The person whose record he tied was a former Pittsburgh Pirate named Dale Long. So, even in the 50s when the Pirates stunk, they still had people. Well, they had
Ralph Kiner.
Ralph Kiner was led the league 8 years in a row in home runs.
Yeah.
Hit 270 home runs in 9 seasons with the Pirates or something.
Not too shabby.
No, they're definitely not too shabby. Going back to some PNC Park trivia. Back in July the 28th, probably one of the greatest games played at PNC Park. The first year the park was open, Vinny Castilla hit 3 home runs and drove in 5 runs, but Houston still lost 9-8 to the Pirates. Down 8-2 with 2 outs in the 9th, the Pirates scored 7 runs, including Brian Giles' game-winning grand slam home run. That was a night to remember there at PNC Park. Zach has finally come around to understand that, Pete Rose doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. I'm afraid my friend Jim Frazier doesn't agree with us. But let's give a little recognition to Pete Rose because on July 27th, 1984, Montreal's Pete Rose passed Ty Cobb for the most singles in a career with number 3,053 against the Philadelphia Phillies. So,
Smoking Jim, just imagine that. Over 3,000 hits that were singles. Yeah, no power.
No power. And, I guess he must have been betting against himself that day. And then just a couple of more things here. In NFL history, there have been 4 quarterbacks that have won 100 games in their first 150 games played. 2 of them were Steelers. I think that's a pretty amazing statistic. Terry Bradshaw and Ben Roethlisberger. And that's all I've got for you this week. But
it was an extended Chips trivia time. How was the lobster up there in Maine?
Well, we reduced the population quite considerably.
Each day?
Yes. We did everything that we could. We had a little lobster cookout Wednesday night. 34 of the crustaceans bit the dust.
Well, that's good. Hey, I wanted to give you and Stephanie and Zach a special treat. I picked up, I would like to get a shot there of that. Hey, could Zach give the Tiger your phone a second to just take a picture? All right. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, take your headset off, John, before you walk over here.
Jeffrey and Bethel Bakery.
This is from John Walsh was a guest. They have their 60th anniversary. You can win prizes if you buy special cookies there, and they donate money each day. So there's a chance to win. So what I figured we'd do is give one to Stephanie. You take one yourself because I know you like sugar. These are great. The only thing, the color didn't come out right, but the price was right. So if the Tiger could you take a photo with his phone? Just take the headphones off. Come on, man.
And you want to know something? I'm still getting grief because when we had Jim's birthday cake here, somehow my piece of cake ended up in my belly.
If he doesn't come over now, just put us on pause and go to commercial because then we're going to have him here. He's absolutely doing nothing right now on camera, folks.
All right.
You put it on wide. We're good. No.
Taking a picture of him.
Hold it. Stand back there.
Over there.
You're savvy enough. You're my man. You're experienced now. All of us, not me. Move in the middle then. Move in front of the screen where we are. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
We're trying to get this forever.
Where's the... All right. One more.
Please take another one. Thank you, Bethel Bakery.
And just
John
for the
Walsh.
purposes of everything, stand right there and turn it sideways and get a wide shot. There you go.
Hold it.
Wow, it's a photo shoot.
Folks, this is live TV, but the 60th anniversary of Bethel Bakery, it's definitely worth something to have somebody locally like this do that and all the great things he does. Just go in front of that TV
Look,
right
his finger's
now.
covering the camera.
All right.
I wonder how many photos I got here. Okay.
Bring the camera in from the controller.
Come on, Bill Boyce Jr.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
this was a surprise. But you know what? I can't hold off and not eat anything. So, Zach, It's now your time for Z time.
Hold on.
I got to try this.
We got one good one out of all those shots. That's all we needed. Thank you, John. Well, for Z time tonight, folks.
Delicious.
I know you're watching Smoking Jim Frazier, so I'm going to start a campaign that I'm going to get more behind than the Pete Rose for the Hall of Fame campaign, and that is the Hall of Fame call for Barry Bonds. And why Barry Bonds now should be in the Hall of Fame. Now that I've decided that Pete Rose is no longer qualified for the Hall of Fame, and I truly believe it in my heart, now I'm going for Barry Bonds. Why am I going for Barry Bonds? Because right now, Barry Bonds is the all-time home run leader at 762 home runs, and he is also hit the most home runs in a single season at 73 home runs. And the reason why I believe Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, folks, is because Barry Bonds has never been proven to have taken performance-enhancing drugs. I've looked through all the documents, all the reports, all the evidence, everything. I've glanced through all of it, and I've come to the conclusion, Smoking Jim Frazier, that Barry Bonds didn't do anything wrong that could be proven. There's no evidence whatsoever linking Barry Bonds like all the other ones. There's no smoking gun chip. You could check for it yourself. There is no... Now, you could make the argument that, his head got bigger, got smaller, got bigger, his arms, his body, whatever. Okay, but all I'm saying to you folks at home is that he's never admitted it, and it's never been proven by a jury of his peers.
He did. Actually, he did admit it when he said that he took the cream and the clear, but he thought that they were flaxseed oil. But, that's just a little overlooked fact. And what
did they serve house arrest for?
Yeah.
Well, but the reason why, though, is because finally, 2 days ago, the grand jury dissolved and decided to not charge Barry Bonds with any criminal charges and dropped all prosecution against Mr. Bonds. So, with all that being said...
Doesn't mean that he's innocent.
But there's a presumption of innocence until proven guilty, Levine,
that's
given by the...
criminal court of law, not in a civil court.
Well, really, what Barry Bonds is like Pete Rose is screwed because he signed an actual document that basically banned him from baseball permanently, and that can't be reversed no matter who comes along. But Barry Bonds never signed any such thing.
And
He perjured himself, but that's all
actually,
right.
It's the court of public opinion that's going to help
to be
Barry
very
Bonds.
honest with you, Barry will never get into the Hall of Fame. And actually, I was talking to a ball player we interviewed on a show we did at Sips Sports Bar a number of years back. And actually, it was a former ball player, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he was... he knows Willie Mays, and he knows Hank Aaron, and Willie Mays happens to be Barry Bonds' godfather, and he does not believe that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. So, the baseball people themselves, they've got a way of policing their own, and I know the sports writers are never going to vote Barry in, and even the Hall of Fame members themselves realized that what they were doing was wrong.
Would you now? This is just a hypothetical. There. Now you have Mark McGwire.
Right.
You have Mark McGwire. You have Giambi. You got A-Royd. Like you have guys that are without a shadow of a doubt, 100%. We know they took performance-enhancing drugs.
Well,
now we know Barry Bonds.
Charged.
Yes. We know Barry Bonds rubbed himself down, and he probably did it too. But he's never,
here's one thing that you
came
missed.
under fire.
All the things that you missed in your research, he bought the same things from the same company that everybody went to jail on. The owners of the company, Balco, went to jail for it. And they were friends of his, personal friends. They were in his house. They dropped off things. It's all proven. The thing is, that's what happened.
And here's the reason why there's no smoking gun on Barry Bonds. And if you've done your research, you'll recall the name of an athletic trainer that Barry Bonds used exclusively. His name was Brian Anderson. And Brian Anderson chose to go to jail and be quiet as opposed to testifying in front of the grand jury. So Barry paid him to keep quiet, and he's continued to buy his silence. And he has never testified, but he went to prison because testifying under oath, he would have been forced to tell the truth.
So if you two had votes as baseball writers for the Hall of Fame, Barry Bonds is in the same category as Giambi, A-Royd, and
Roger Clemens,
McGwire.
Yeah.
They're all in the same category.
Here's my feeling on Barry Bonds. Personality-wise, wasn't the nicest guy ever. So he got a lot of writers upset about that. Even when he was winning MVPs, before he was on any juice, he may have had trouble getting in on the first couple ballots. There was always talk about that. Then when he got jealous and envious and hateful of baseball and the juiced up baseball and the juiced up guys, he even said to many friends, they quoted him just like he would talk. He talked about that he couldn't stand that they were doing better and getting all the accolades.
Because back you see, there was the strike of baseball in 1994, and that was pretty much, once baseball came back, was pretty much the beginning of the steroid era. And what happened in the year of summer of 1998, that was the year that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were chasing Roger Maris's record. Okay, now Barry Bonds was recognized as being the best player in baseball, but now all of the attention got focused on Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire.
He hated that Sammy Sosa.
And Barry was not very, very pleased with that. His ego was his downfall. And so subsequently, he started doing what they were doing, and and suddenly the home run records were going skyrocket. And the funny thing is since they've theoretically cleaned up baseball, you don't see people hitting 50, 60, 70 home runs
now
anymore.
Pre 1994, what was the policy in baseball and the rules on steroids? Because I think after '94, I think that's part of the agreement in that deal was they changed a lot of stuff.
I don't know what the rules were, but the steroid
there was no
era,
rule on the steroids.
The steroid era, it was the players themselves were not the only people that were guilty. The owners turned a blind eye to it because baseball needed to rebuild its image and they needed to put fannies back in their seats. So it's a kind of a catch-22 because the owners didn't condone it, but yet they didn't really do anything to police it until steroids became a big issue and started getting the national attention. Then they started trying to clean up the baseball, and then
said they would.
So
like, with you two being former baseball players and having played baseball growing up, if you had to speak to a room full of potential prospects and kids coming up, and the choice was to do it, the all-natural way and risk, or to take the juice and guarantee yourself, money and, but trouble down the road with your body, you guys are going to, tell all these kids to do it.
And I would, because there's a right way to play the game and there's a wrong way to do it. And to be honest with you, taking performance-enhancing drugs is not the answer. That's not the message that you want to leave to children. You want to teach them the good things about sports, the camaraderie, the sportsmanship, the striving to make yourself better, hard work. Nothing replaces hard work. Steroids were a shortcut, and it was a way for instant rewards. And most of the people that had anything to do with these things are suffering for them later in life. So it's like basically they sold their souls to the devil for a short-term gain, and now,
But my only problem, fellas, with that whole argument is that the game of baseball, in order to revive itself, allowed these guys to obtain these stats under those conditions with that kind of stuff to get back.
It was about the money, so as soon as you're all about the money, it changes what the game is.
So doesn't that kind of skew the line though?
No, but I want to
the
tell you,
owners allowed the players to do the juice. They needed. It was like a.
No,
it's like a pick.
Here, I'm going to give you a choice.
A domino effect.
I'm going to give you a choice. In high school, kids can get steroids wherever they want. You have a choice. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get a scholarship because you could get hurt. I saw people, I was offered steroids and said no. I didn't take it. I still got scholarship and offers things to go to other colleges. So it doesn't matter.
Would it have made you better than you were?
Who knows? I worked hard for what I did. Everything didn't come easy to me, but I made a choice, a personal choice. Why do you want to get a shot in the butt with steroids?
And you learn lessons.
I made that choice.
Really, in life, there's really no shortcuts to anything. Nothing beats sticking your nose to the grindstone, working hard. You get rewards at the end of the day. It may not be instantly, but at the end of the day, it's a small percentage. That's the lesson you want to pass on to the next generation.
It's a very small percentage that go to the pros. So if that's your goal, okay, Aroyd made it. He was on steroids forever.
They say that 10% of the ball players that go to the minor leagues make it to the bigs.
What I got watching the All-Star game. Baseball is one of the few All-Star games where it kind of gets it right, where it honors the ones that are still alive and around, the greats that did it.
That's a tradition.
Before it's a tradition, and it goes on for a couple hours before the game. But to be, like Hank Aaron, one of those guys that just was naturally God gifted, and and didn't do anything though, and didn't cheat, and did it the right way. I mean, I can't imagine to be alive and to have to kind of stomach or digest the fact that other guys took things to acquire the stats and the numbers.
Well, they don't like
the right way.
they don't like that, and they don't like the money that guys make and how they had to work 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. But that's what it was.
Probably one of the greatest ball players that ever played the game was Willie Mays. And when the New York Giants moved from the Polo Grounds in New York City to Candlestick Park, okay, they said that Willie Mays ended up his career with 660 home runs. They said because he played in Candlestick Park for a decade, he probably would have hit at least 100 more home runs.
800 or more.
Because Candlestick Park, the winds were so nasty in Candlestick Park that during, I believe it was one All-Star game, the pitcher got blown off the mound. Okay? So, his
stats would have been unbelievable.
His stats, nobody would have been able to touch. But you know what? He's not a bitter man. You know what? He played the hand that he was dealt. He didn't whine. He didn't bellyache about it. You know?
And he's one of the greatest.
How about the baseball players, though, that we're never going to really hear about, Chip? That, because of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire's little thing. Like, there was guys that weren't taking juice that were probably having great seasons. And, that were just
there were guys that
overlooked.
had 50 home runs for 2 seasons, and you never heard of them again. And 1 season, 40 home runs. Some guys that were 150, 160 pounds were jacking the ball out like you couldn't believe.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I guess we can.
I just,
you can't take it away, though.
Well,
one guy could have, the commissioner could have stopped it, like Bonds being under investigation. He could have been suspended.
Well, see, here's the thing. They were taking them, and that's a known fact. Then the baseball started putting in the rules to ban them, and these same people worked around the rules, like Alex Rodriguez, for example, took steroids almost through his entire career, got caught, took a different tactic, got caught, and then he decided to go around that again. So I mean, these guys.
Yeah, but he did it worse.
They're habitual offenders.
They're not choir boys that are saying, well, geez, I was treated unjustly. They willfully went, look at Lance Armstrong did with the Tour de France and all the drugging. They said that his drugging program was beyond anything that anybody could ever imagine.
But don't you think that one of the most powerful factions is the owners? The owners cut the checks. The owners have the most money. So shouldn't some of the owners be held accountable for paying the hundreds of $millions to these guys and giving them the money? If the owners stepped up and said, you know what, they colluded to kick Barry Bonds out of baseball.
Here's what you do. You go to Congress, who gave them an exemption, so none of this comes under antitrust laws or anything else. You take that away from them, so they have to be like other businesses. And guess what? All these guys that are saying losses will make a profit. Because you're a business. They can't play all the funny games that they do. And it's just a fact. Why would people become, involved in baseball teams and invest it and then cry about they're losing money every year? But they still own a team for 20, 30 years. That's what doesn't make sense.
Anybody that owns a professional franchise doesn't lose money.
I'm saying officially what they say certain years, like they'll go 12 teams
and now
lost
with revenue
money that
sharing,
year.
How could you lose when you get a piece of the Yankees' $250 million TV?
Because you spend too much on yours?
Yankees have a $2.5 billion contract from the Yankees network.
It's a luxury tax that's on there.
Yeah,
it's split among the other teams.
It's
peanuts.
They break $180 million in revenue, and they just write a check. And then they will continue to do
baseball doesn't do it right, just like the commissioner hasn't, for years.
But let's, while we're on the subject of baseball, Pirates took 3 out of 4 from the Nationals this past weekend, and I know they started off slow after the All-Star break, and but I look at it like this, okay? We played 3 series against 3 division-leading teams. We played a 4-game series against the Cardinals, a 3-game series against the Royals, and then we played a 4-game series against the Washington Nationals. And if you look at those 3 teams, which are teams that we would face in the playoffs, some of the better teams in baseball, our record was 7-4.
Right.
Now, we balanced that out by losing 3 to the worst team in baseball, Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
And this happens in baseball. But right now, the Pirates are equal to any of the better teams in the league. There are some question marks going forward. A.J. Burnett has had a couple of rough outings.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton's on the mound tonight. Charlie Morton's been up and down. Jeff Locke, as your 5th starter, he's doing about what you would expect a 5th starter to do. He's not going to win you 10 or 15 games in a row, but he pitches solidly, he keeps the team in the game. What I think the Pirates really need to do with the trade deadline coming up is they need to add something to the front end of their bullpen. The back end of their bullpen, Melanson in the 9th, Watson in the 8th, and Jared Hughes in the 7th is solid. It's as solid as any team has. But, what they need is they need a middle reliever. And, it's not going to be a big splashy or flashy player that they're going to get. And I do believe that they will do something to bolster the bullpen. I made a nice trade this past weekend by picking up Aramis Ramirez.
No, I like that a lot.
Because they gave up nothing. The guy they gave up was a double-A pitcher who probably 4 months ago was a position player who switched to being a pitcher. Really doesn't even know what he's doing, but he throws.
He may need a couple years.
He throws heat, and we're getting Aramis Ramirez for 2 months. So we're getting him for 2 months. He's going to retire at the end of the year. We didn't sell the farm out. Now, that leads me to another point. You look at what's going on in the trades. The Kansas City Royals have completely depleted their farm system. Right. They picked up Johnny Cueto. They picked up Ben Zobrist, who the Pirates were looking to sign as some bench help. And the Royals are going all in to win now.
But I'm not really concerned about the Royals. When I showed you on my phone about Papelbon going to the Nationals, how do you feel about that? There's other teams that are...
Yeah, but let me finish my thought here, and then I'll speak to that, okay? Last year, the Oakland A's were leading baseball, okay? And they went all in. They got John Lester from the Boston Red Sox. They gave up a bunch of prospects. They gave up their star young outfielder, Cespedes. They picked up Jeff Smarsda from the Chicago Cubs, and they gave away another handful. So right now, the Oakland A's are in last place. They have no farm system left, and they're in the midst of a fire sale. They're in last place. They failed last year after going all in to win. Look at the Detroit Tigers. Last year, they were the big winners. They got David Price. Now they're shopping him around, and the Tigers are 12.5 games out of first place. So they're not looking to make the playoffs, especially with Miguel Cabrera out.
Right.
So my point being, these teams that are going all in to win now, I think it makes better sense to not mortgage your future to win now. Now Papelbon going to the Nationals, that may not be as good of a move. Papelbon's a big name, but I understand from what I've read from various different teams that he is absolute poison in the clubhouse. And you know what? His best years are behind him. Let me put it to you this way. If I had to win a game in the 9th inning in a one-run game, I'd put Mark Melanson on the mound years before I'd put Papelbon on. So Papelbon's a big name with a big salary. And once again, the Nationals are going all in. Is that going to work? Who knows? But, you're going to pay for what you're doing now. You're going to pay down the road. And I prefer to see our team, the way we're doing things, we are building for longevity. And,
So you don't think they're going to go out and get one of those big names pitchers that are still left out
there? No,
there?
and the reason why, because to get one of those big names, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to trade somebody off your major league roster. And who are you going to give up? Right now, Pedro Alvarez, his stock's not that high, and I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't trade Pedro Alvarez right now because there's nothing out there that's any better that we're going to get. And Pedro Alvarez, when he gets hot, he can change a game with the swing of a bat. He had 2 home runs against the Nationals this weekend. I was there Friday night, and he put one in the river. His defense is lacking. But, we don't have anybody in our farm system that's going to step in and take his place. And there's nobody out there that anybody's going to trade better. And, so you've got, he is
You're
what he is.
You're already paying him.
How do you feel about the infield? Do you feel that they should, now that they sewed up third base a little bit, do you think they need to go out and get a shortstop?
No, absolutely not. Jordy Mercer is their shortstop, and he will be back.
But they're saying the injuries to Harrison and Mercer, they might not be back 100% this season.
Well, they'll both be back this year. Harrison's already taken ground balls after the surgery on his thumb. So he's ahead of schedule right now. Mercer's knee will get him back. Jung Ho Gong was a great pickup. The Pirates...
much better than I thought.
They plucked him out of nowhere. And even though I don't feel that he is an everyday major league shortstop, he can fill in the meantime. But what he lacks in range in the field, he makes up for with the pop in his bat. He's not hitting home runs like he hit in Korea. Yeah. But he does hit. He does get clutch hits. Neil Walker got hot in July, which is no big surprise. Neil Walker can be solid. Sean Rodriguez is a good late game replacement for Alvarez defensively. The only thing that I wish Sean Rodriguez would do a little better is hit the ball. But I'll sacrifice his bat for the glove that he brings. He can make mistakes as good as anybody. But I think we don't really need to. Certainly we're not going to touch it. We're not trading everybody in the outfield. And right now, we're watching the emergence of Gregory Polanco this year. Friday night, I was at the game, and Gregory Polanco got up with Pirates losing 4-2, runner on first, and he had a 12-pitch at bat against the best pitcher in baseball, according to some, Max Scherzer. A 12-pitch, he started out 0-2. Next 10 pitches, he had 3 balls. He fouled off everything until finally he threw one across the plate and he hit it into the seats. It was one of the most amazing at-bats I've seen this year.
Especially with the year he's had.
And Gregory Polanco, in 2 to 3 years, is going to be an all-star, the same way that Starling Marte will be.
So you think that they're not going to bring anybody else in as far as the infield goes?
No, I think if they get anything that they've taken care of the right-handed bat on the bench with Ramirez. Once Mercer and Harrison get back, Ishikawa is another left-handed bat off the bench. I just don't see them. I think where they need help, the pitchers that are suspect right now: Sermonera, Guerra, Bastardo. Bastardo had a really good June, not so good July. Sermonero, he throws 100 miles an hour, but he has not been effective lately. His ball has been flattening out, which
if you can't get people out.
Well, and which generally means if you're throwing a 100-mile fastball and it's got no movement, it's going to go out as fast as it goes in. And
one of the easiest pitches to hit is a fastball.
Right. So, well, if you can't hit a fastball, you're not in the major leagues.
Well, you'll time it eventually. That's why you got to have some movement on it, one way or the other.
So, the Pirates could use some help there, and I think the front end of the relief corps could use some help. But at what cost are you going to do that?
It's not worth it. Put it like this: when you have the second best record in baseball, and you're in the wrong division, you'd be leading somewhere else. It just works out that way sometimes.
Well, and you know what? Do not write the Pirates off as being Central Division champs. There's still 9 weeks of baseball.
Our friend Mario Tempest said they can do it. He said they can win it.
Well, speaking of, I don't know if you wanted to go to On Location.
Yeah, I did want to hit On Location.
Okay. Hit it.
All right, I'm going to hit it. On Location, we had another great show at Duke's Rib House and Grill, and we'll be back there in 2 weeks. It was a great show from Teresa Vancic coming on, great bodybuilder. She's going for a pro bout in September. Just some great information. Jeff Harlan has a gym with her up in Butler. They come all the way down to see us. We had nutrition, nutrition reaction or reaction nutrition with Darcel. Great stuff. I'm trying some of the juice he gave me, some of the vitamins. So that was a great show there. Great crowd. A lot of great people that we had there. It was just a good time at Duke's Rib House and Grill. We got some fans that are regulars now because of Billy Nardozzi. They come out, Bonnie and Merrill, thanks for coming out and traveling from Murraysville. We appreciate it. Other people were there. And it was just nice to have a show like that. We had the Joey Fabus Foundation, Lou Potosi, Cindy Fabus, Dave Fabus, Frank Fabus, Judy Agnestelli, Lou's wife. They were all there. So it was made for a nice crowd. And we're trying to support Joey Fabus and, the foundation with what they do. There was a bike rally we just had. And they're doing a lot of things in the area. This week, if you're around Simmons Field, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they have a basketball tournament. So check that out. It's going to go very well. Donations are there. They're coming in because this DIPG, brain cancer, just horrific. Every child that gets it, there's nobody that's ever survived.
But make sure, folks, that if you want to donate to Joey Fabus and the specific cancer that took out our little buddy, That's what Levine's talking about.
Right.
Specifically, go into the Joey Fabus website and give
Go
them
to
the
their
money.
Facebook, then link to their page, and then the money will get donated there so it can help to solve this dreaded disease. And then I want to talk about On Location. We'll be off next week. There's 5 weeks in the month. The Royal Place with all the construction and everything. They said we can come back in November when hopefully this is all done, because between bad weather, we had rain and monsoons every Monday, so we'll be back there. But we did get a surprising thing out there, and I want to announce that. Roger Houston, we have to thank him. Heather Wilder with the Horsemen's Association, the MSOA, out at the Meadows, and the United States Trotting Association. They told us about a 2% fractional ownership of a horse. They're trying to promote ownership. Everybody knows I've had horses and love it. I can't get in on it. So Smokin' Jim and I were in a match race. Since he's the owner and I'm promoting it, it was family fun night. So if you can, get out at the Meadows. Smokin' Jim and I had a GoPro. Chip, I actually was holding the GoPro.
Okay.
I was in the sulky. Smokin' Jim went off to a big lead. I predicted we'd win. There's 2 other people there that are owners of this horse, and it was quite the race. I actually held it with one hand. Our man Smokin' Jim didn't breathe for the minute and a half. It was just a short race, 5/8 of a mile. I give him all the credit in the world. I'm proud of him. He didn't even know what end of the horse that you got to, look at or whatever, but he saw the back end the whole race. The driver with him was Tony Hall, one of the best out there in the country. I had Mike Wilder, who's one of the best drivers also. He's also Heather's husband. I said, Mike, we got to win. So we were talking the whole time. Of course, I'm the talking machine. Roger Houston even said the talking machine's talking during the whole race. Long story short, we got shuffled back. I said, are we going to Lightning Lane? That'd be my hero. He goes, no, we got to go outside. Are you ready? Not only we go from the rail, we went all the way out 4 wide. We were closing like a freight train. I'm yelling over at Smokin' Jim, get ready, here we come. We got nipped by about a nose, and Smokin' Jim Frazier won his race.
Was that horse huffing and puffing?
Smoking Jim.
Smoking Jim around that track.
You'll have to see. We're trying to get the video from the Meadows. And no offense, Smokin' Jim. He's just kidding there. But we don't know what his weight was. It was undisclosed. But the drivers' weights are all the same.
How do you lose the Smoking Jim?
Well, I want to tell you guys. You guys both know about.
When he put a foot down, was he pushing?
He couldn't. He would have slowed him down. But the bikes, the sulkies, are balanced. I've seen guys that weigh almost 400 pounds win a race because they're perfectly balanced. Does it help to have a lighter guy? Probably. But we were so far back because the other horses slowed us up that you have to see it. It was an exciting race. Fans were going crazy there, and we may do it again. And what I wanted to announce on the show is there's 2%. For $350, you can own a 2% stake in it. The trainer is Tim Twaddle, who's a very good trainer. He's training it. Very nice guy. I met him for the first time when we were in the paddock. Smokin' Jim thought it was a barn. It's a paddock, so he's learning the horse business, especially as a winner. We were in the winner's circle, too, so there's photos for proof. The video will be from the Meadows. When we get that, you'll get to see it.
Okay.
Well, they picked the audios.
Well, I would just want to get to that, but with the fractional ownership, I wanted to announce that Frank and Dave Fabus are going to get in on this horse, among other people. There's probably people are buying shares. Zach Brenner just told me before the show, he whispered to me that he'll take 2% of that horse. He wants a piece of that action.
We're going racing down the Meadows.
So that's going to be happening. And what I wanted to announce is we're honored. We're going to be doing a show on Adios Day. That's the biggest day in the Meadows all year long. We'll be doing a show from the paddock area about 11:30. I'll be doing interviews and with some of the stars of the sport. And Dave Pallone, if you don't know him, he's the leading legendary here, all over the country and the world. He has more wins than anybody else. Plus, you got Roger Houston. He's a Hall of Famer. He announces the races. If you haven't heard a gentleman call a race, that's the guy you have to hear call a race. Even with us, it was exciting. I could hear him in between talking, but I did hear him say I was talking the whole race, and that's true, because you'll hear on the GoPro when I do that. But we're going to be doing these interviews, and we may do other shows out at the Meadows, so stay tuned for that. And Adios is the biggest day, like I said, so come on out. The racing starts at 12:20. The Adios race with the best 3-year-olds in the country will be at about 4 o'clock. So there'll be a lot of fun to come out. And if you want to check out what goes on at the Meadows, and if you're interested in buying a horse, I'm not selling it. I don't own it. But here's the thing. You only pay 2%, and that's $350. There are no other expenses. If the horse wins over the next 3 months, which if he's racing, he's going to win some money. The top 5 places give you a percentage. I could go into that, but I don't want to bore you. We're running out of time. So if you're interested, contact me, and we'll see what we can do. I'll introduce you to the people that can give you a 2% ownership. We're going to have some fun over the next 3 months. So stay tuned with that. And now we got Zach Brenner. He's going to probably be in a horse in the next week or two. They have match races every Friday night. You want to see how he's now down to, I heard 275 last night, but I'm not sure about that. But we'll see.
Hey, you know what? We've got running a little short on time.
That's why I said, yeah.
Hey, the Steelers started training camp 2 days ago, and guess what? They got a day off.
That's the same day.
Guess whose suspension got reduced today from 3 games
Levy
to
and
2
Bell.
games? Levy
And
and
do you
Bell.
know why the suspension got reduced from 3 games to 2? Because at the time that Le'Veon Bell was arrested, the punishment for your first-time drug offense was 2 games. They raised it up to 3 games, and in his appeal, they
honored the CBA.
They honored the rules. But you know, here's some of the things that you know. Obviously, the Steelers have questions on defense. You know,
Obviously,
we've got you know, a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator has gone by the wayside, and what's his name, Butler. Keith Butler is now the defensive coordinator, and if the Steelers have done anything in the last 2 years, they've gotten faster on defense. They've gotten rid of some of the players who had lost a step. But
they didn't always get better players. They
well,
got some
you know, and
faster players.
that's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
What the
I
Steelers,
wasn't sure where you're going.
With the exception of Jim's all-time favorite,
Jarvis Jones.
You mean too slow?
No, he's too quick.
Joey Porter said he's going to make sure.
But the Steelers have a lot of question marks. There's a lot of people that need to step up. Jarvis Jones would be one. Ryan Shazier would be another one. Shamarko Thomas is another player that they need to expect things out of. Cortez Allen obviously needs to
And he was
perform.
called out to do so.
You know, but you've got the solid veterans in James Harrison and Lawrence Timmons.
Yeah.
The defensive line.
But Harrison won't be a full-time player.
Well,
He wasn't last year. He won't be this year.
And we'll see what happens, because if he's ultimately the best option they have,
But you know why
there probably isn't a better condition.
You know why
athlete on the
James
team.
Harrison
Exactly.
is brought in? Because for 2 reasons. What you just named, that he's a great conditioned athlete, but because of the presence in the locker room, the leadership that you get from James Harrison, he's going to keep all those young bulls in line, because none of them want to mess with the Silverbacks.
And I know, Jim has consistently talked about Jarvis Jones being a bust, and we'll find out. We'll find out.
What about
But
Dupree?
Jarvis Jones went to Arizona with James Harrison after minicamp and has been training with him. So maybe, I don't know, maybe some of it'll stick. But here's one of the things that I find kind of frightening about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and everybody talks about the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, and this is going to be like one of the best offenses in the NFL. And Ben Roethlisberger's talking about, we're looking to be able to score 30 points a game, and they may have to.
Yeah. They will.
With the defense.
They will. I guarantee it.
But that being said, the Pittsburgh Steelers are notorious at being enamored with what they read in the press about themselves and letting their heads get a little bit bigger than they should. And have you ever noticed they always seem to lose to teams they got no business
They play down to
going
the competition.
Well,
and up to it.
The Steelers are much better underdog than they are a front runner. And I would like to see, I hope everybody's got the commitment. Martavius Bryant came into camp. Put on some extra weight lifting. Right. He feels that he'll be able to get off the line. You think about what Martavius Bryant did last year. He only had like 28 catches, for the season or something like that. But of those 28 catches, 8 of them were for touchdowns.
That's huge.
That's absolutely huge. And you've got.
Well, here's the other thing. Just to interrupt you, since we're running out of time. The schedule. The schedule's not an easy schedule. And we've had that the last. But the last couple of years, we had easy schedules, and look what they could have been without giving up a lot of points at the end. So I'm a little bit worried about the schedule. Of course, injuries are an equalizer for all the teams. So who knows what will come out of training camp.
And you know what, though? One of the things about the NFL, and if you ever notice that teams are in a constant state of flux because you've got free agency.
Right.
You got people that have to cut veterans because of salary cap restrictions and everything like that. So, the team that played last year is probably not going to be the same team that you're going to see this year.
Parity in the league makes it a nice league to watch because your
team
can come back. You could go,
But
whatever.
Until September 10th, everybody, let's not forget the Steelers are 0-0. They haven't done anything. They've got 5 preseason games.
Yeah,
And
I can't wait for the Hall of Fame game for
what
Jerome
they
Bettis.
need to do more than anything else is come out of the preseason healthy.
Yeah.
If they come out of the preseason healthy, it'll be interesting to watch the season. But if they start getting some of these people that they're relying on going down early, it could be a long season.
Very true. And I hope the offensive line is ready to play. That's one of the key things.
And one of Jim's favorites, Mike Adams, started off the season on the PUP list.
Isn't that traditional now? I think it's traditional.
You know what? You have to, as we wind down real quick, though. You have to. There's a lot of optimism though with that offense. There's some weapons, man. And Ben Roethlisberger's going to hit it.
Zach, there's
the O-line's
question.
better.
We got probably have the best running back in the league. We've got a top 5 quarterback. We've got the best wide receiver, and he's got a good supporting cast. The offensive line has been together now, and they're playing well. If they can keep the hounds off of Ben,
you know what?
we can bring up a lot of points.
The one sad thing is, as we wrap up, though, is Heath Miller's probably in one of his last seasons, if not his last.
The comeback from the horrific injury he had, that's just unbelievable.
And
That's a credit to how he's
as
been.
a tight end.
And he lost the step anyhow. So, that's a tough thing, but he's still usable. Bubble screens are nice, even with tight ends.
It seems Cam Hamwood got his contract extension.
Well
and one of the things that he's done is he's stepped up and he's taken on the leadership role for the defensive line. Kiesel passed the torch to
so
him.
well spoken as Levine can lament to, man. He's such a nice guy when we were talking to him.
Very down to earth, and he can play some basketball too.
He can.
Good athlete.
I don't care about his basketball skills. I want to see him eat quarterbacks.
Well, I think part of being quarterbacks, though, that's speed and that.
Yeah, he's
quarterbacks and running backs. I want to see him fed a steady diet.
Yeah, well, I think he can.
I think he's one of the few questions
Yep.
on the line that you have to worry about is going to be Cam Hayward.
Well, we're just about done. I want to thank Zach Brenner for coming in. Good luck on that fractional ownership with the horse. They'll find out August 2nd what the horse's name is. Chip, welcome back with all the updates. Great trivia. Gave me a few I didn't know, so I appreciate that. I like the trivia time. Again, I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. Smoking Jim. Good night, Smoking Jim. Hope you're eating your 12th piece of chicken there.
What about Skeets?
Skeets.
Service station.
Skeets
I wore it tonight.
Service station. He got the hat on. He actually helped my car. Hey, be safe out there. Thanks for watching us, and stay Joey strong.